Mary, get your other spreadsheet ready for...
I have literally swapped screens on the second screen. I need a life.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel need for speed.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. Snakes. What happened with snakes?
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Batman.
Okay, so as a wee aside, we like to discuss what we have actually been consuming in terms of media ourselves, which surprisingly it varies between the three of us, considering that we've got similar tastes in films and television shows. There's certainly a nice wee breadth of talent that we seem to consume. So it's always interesting to hear what everybody's been listening to, watching, reading, etc. So, Mary, what about yourself? What have you been doing last week?
I'll start off with reading wise. So Antti Tuominen is a Finnish author who I'd never heard of before the start of last year, and I read 6 of his books last year. He is like the Coen brothers type of humour, very dark but very violent and very funny. So I absolutely loved his books. I rattled through several of them last year. If you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I constantly post my book stacks. I read The Zone of Interest last week just to see what that was like before hopefully watching the film. And right now I'm depressing myself by reading The Power of Geography by Tim Marshall, which basically just confirms that the world is, we're all just teetering on the brink. In terms of TV, I finished The Last Kingdom. I really liked it, but for some reason it just doesn't feel as it's made as much of an impact for me as Vikings. Although Vikings is like historically all over the place, I felt like it was more of an enjoyable romp than The Last Kingdom for whatever reason. And every time I watch stuff like this, I'm always on the side of the raiding party. Like, there's nothing I love more than seeing like English bishops getting the shit kicked out of them. So yes, it was good. I'm glad I stuck with it. It took a while to get started, but it was good. Also watched A Nearly Normal Family and The Valhalla Murders on Netflix because I'm doing my whole Scandi detective season of life at the moment. Film-wise, I have watched on Mubi Fallen Leaves, which is a Finnish film, got a lot of plaudits last year. Humour is very, very dry. Loved it. Watched How to Have Sex as well. The Holdovers and Occupied City, both of which reviews are on the Moviescramble website for that. And I watched Anatomy of a Fall, some film festival screeners, all of which reviews will come out for that as well. And I watched an old Hammer horror called Scars of Dracula with Christopher Lee, which was fucking awful, but in a really enjoyable way. So it wasn't 90 minutes wasted, put it that way.
That's
nice.
Important, isn't it?
Hey, Thomas, what about yourself?
Book-wise, I'm currently reading the Bell Jar, which is a
nice,
riot.
light.
Yeah. I listened to the audiobook of Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's narrated by Michael C. Hall, which was very good. I really enjoyed that. Although it was for a Dexter fan like myself, and most of the show is his in a monologue, it was quite hard at times to distinguish between that. Podcast wise, I listened to John Ronson's new podcast, Things Fell Apart, and the season 2 of it, I would not listen to season 1, go back and listen to that first. Season 2 was incredible, absolutely incredible. And I won't say too much about it because it is really worth getting cold, but it's about the culture wars and how it shapes opinion and the origins of these debates and where it came from, and that it's incredible journalism, absolutely outstanding. I watched season 3 of Loudermilk, which is now on Netflix. If you haven't seen that, watch it. But an embittered, washed up music critic living in Seattle, who's also a recovering alcoholic and runs an AA type group. And I think it's Peter Farrelly, John, that did it.
It is,
It's
yeah.
one of the Farrelly brothers, and it was a kind of one of those things that been all under the radar for so long. And now it was on Prime, the first 2 seasons anyway. It's all on Netflix now, so I think it's going to eventually find its audience. It's really, really funny. I watched The Killer on Friday night.
Did you like it?
No, the Fassbender Fincher one. It should have been called The Talker, honestly. And as a film, I kind of wonder if it suffered because it was streaming. I don't mean if you took that exact same film and put it in cinema. If the film was made for cinema, would we have got the same film?
Okay, I liked it.
I liked it as well. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent film. Yeah,
I thought it was pretty dull. I also watched The Walking Deceased, which was a spoof movie of The Walking Dead.
You really are a glutton for punishment.
It was. I enjoyed it, it was real fun. And I have been watching Dead, rewatching The Walking Dead as well. So yeah, maybe I am a glutton for punishment. I also watched Sharktopus, which I thought was great. Oh,
nice.
And The Iron Claw. I watched The Iron Claw the other week. That is excellent. That is genuinely excellent. There's a film that I don't know why award season it's passed. Why it's been passed by other awards. It's well directed.
It's not released too late.
It came out in November in America.
Ah, right, okay.
It came out February here, but it's brilliantly acted. It's a well crafted film. It's a great story to the point they actually had to cut things from the film to kind of pull back on the tragedy of it. They cut out a complete character because the director said, "I don't think people can take that much tragedy in a film." And this is based. And bear in mind, this is based on a true story. Brilliant, no, absolutely brilliant film.
If you want like the flip side of that, like Cassandro is on Prime with Gael Garcia Bernal, which is about Mexican wrestling. And although there's tragedy in it, there's certainly plenty of comedy because he is a drag wrestler in it, again based on a true story. But it feels like the correct counterpart to the Iron Claw, which is hyper masculine.
It sounds like something I could watch. I mean, there's also Ambulance, which I watched, the Michael Bay film.
Oh yeah.
Gyllenhaal, again, it was just too long. You take about an hour off that film, and it's this really tight action movie. Instead, it was just like
how long is it?
About a day. Maybe take an hour off about half. I think it was over 2 hours long anyway. I'm just kind of like, maybe. It starts off really well. It starts off really good, and then doesn't really sustain that for the rest of it.
I'm just laughing because I obviously watched that Occupied City, which is 4 hours and 6 minutes, and did it in one sitting. And I was just like, can you imagine? Because obviously there was all that discourse over this is when to go for a pee and stuff like that. But given this is like a street by street analysis of Nazi occupation, there is no real point where you can go, I need to go and pee now because you might miss a couple of streets.
Oh, and I also watched Bottoms, which is on Prime just now, and that's really funny.
Oh,
it's on the list, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really good. And if you're looking for a little lesser known horror film, Little Bone Lodge. I won't say much about the plot other than a couple of bank robbers in the Scottish Highlands go to the wrong house.
I have seen lots of people talking about this on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it's called these days. But positive things. I would
recommend it. I was just looking through Now TV one night and it popped up and went, watch it, see if it's any good. And yeah, it was very good.
Okay, from myself, as you guys know, but obviously our listeners probably don't, I'm involved with the Kirky Picture Palace. As a volunteer, basically I go along and sell fizzy drinks and sweeties and help put up the screen and stuff like that, just all the usual sort of stuff. It's a community-run organisation, and for the first time they ran a Scottish Film Festival a couple of weeks ago just to try it out. It wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't like a roaring success either. It was sort of somewhere in between. Basically, over the course of 2 days they showed 5 Scottish films and tried to sort of mix it up so it's not just all the usual nonsense. They avoided Whiskey Galore, which was quite nice because the new version of that is bloody awful. So as part of it, there was 3 films in the Saturday. It was The Water Horse, Legend of the Deep, which is a kids film, followed by Wild Rose and Scottish Muscle, which was all pretty good. It was very interesting as well because there were a number of actors in each of the films who were not Scottish and they were doing Scottish accents, and some of them were absolutely dreadful. Really bad Scottish accents.
On that note, in The Last Kingdom, every single actor who is playing a specific person, so if you're from England, it's an English actor. If you're a Danish Viking, you are Danish. the one fucking person who wasn't from the place they were supposed to be from was the King of Scotland. And it was a really bad, like, he was like, oh, I'm taking my trips out already. Like, that kind of Scottish accent. That really took me out of it.
Yeah, because
Fun.
in Scottish Muscle, one of the actors was from the In-Betweeners TV show,
No
and he
way.
was doing a, oh, aye, that's right, so it is, you know, sort of thing. You're going, what part? And these guys are meant to be from Glasgow, you know, so you're kind of saying, is that East End? You're just not sure. But yeah, it was a pretty decent wee sort of weekend. The sort of highlight, obviously, in terms of punters come through the door was for Sunshine and Leith on the Sunday, so it was quite good fun, very enjoyable, quite a good way to spend a weekend and all that as well. So we don't know whether they're going to do it again, but the Picture Palace thing is still going to continue over the next couple of months anyway, which is nice, and we're getting regulars, which is always a good thing as well.
Nice.
So
Great.
it's all right, yeah. It's doing pretty well. Yeah, I can't take any credit for it, as I say. I'm just a volunteer at it and just help out and humph stuff about and all that, which I'm happy to do it. It's good fun. Apart from that, there's the likes of Poor Things. So at the cinema, which is an absolute riot of a film. Loved every minute of it. It was good to see that the Actress Award went to the right recipient. I thought that was, I mean, you talk an awful lot about brave performances. That could have been a career-ending performance right there if she had not got it right. Yeah, there was a lot of full frontal nudity in it, and she was holding nothing back in her performance at all. I thought it was really, really good, well deserving.
Just to add to that, that's why I joined in touch about your bike, because when I first watched it and people were talking about brave performance, I went, fucking acting, it's
I know.
But then when I was talking to you about it before and you put it in those terms, I went, yeah, because if that was mishandled in any way, she was fucked.
Yeah, it was more, I suppose you could call it a risky performance rather than a brave performance.
But no, but I understand entirely.
But yeah,
when you explained it.
No, it's a common parlance, unfortunately. But yeah, she was taking a risk, which you kind of expect in a Yorgos Lanthimos film, but, you know, maybe not from like a sort of high caliber actor like Emma Stone. But yeah, it's good. I also saw Leave the World Behind, which came out at the tail end of last year on Netflix. It's sort of a apocalyptic type drama. There's an incident happened, and it's Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke and family are going away for a weekend, and sort of strange things happening. It's a pretty decent film. Some really, really good sort of tense moments in it. Some good use of sound and everything. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. Julia Roberts is just fantastic in it. It's her and Mahershala Ali. They're not a couple in it, but they sort of meet up. I don't want to spoil it for you because you should really just give it a watch if you can get a chance. It was pretty decent. I don't know if you guys have seen Fingernails on Apple TV Plus. It's a romantic drama. It's Jessie Buckley and Jeremy Allen White, and it's the whole point is like the fingernails of the title is you there's a machine that can gauge your compatibility with your partner. You pull a fingernail off each and you put it into this machine, and it blasts it, and it says whether you're 100%, 50%, or 0% compatible. So 100% is obviously you're both in love with each other. 50% is one person is in love with the other one, but they can't tell you. And 0% is there's nothing there at all. And it's about this couple who's going through it, and now she's starting to have thoughts and feelings for somebody else who actually works at the sort of the institute that carries out all these tests. It's a kind of a very low key kind of wee drama, but it's really, really good. Really enjoyed it. The opposite to that would be Rebel Moon, Child of Fire, which I saw the Zack Snyder film. It's just come out, I think it was Christmas Day. It came out on Netflix. It's a 2.5-hour sci-fi romp. I don't know if you know the background to this. This was the film that Zack Snyder pitched to the Star Wars people as a new sort of trilogy or whatever for the Star Wars universe, and it got knocked back. So basically he went to Netflix, and Netflix said, yeah, that's brilliant. And if you look at the film, you can see why it got knocked back by Star Wars, because it's just taken elements of Star Wars, it's taken elements of the Magnificent Seven, the Seven Samurai, and wee bits and pieces from all over, and sort of shoved it all into this film. It looks stunning. Zack Snyder films look brilliant, but every action scene, there's a big slow motion element to it, and it just goes on. The film goes on for such a long time because of all these slow motion elements and all the fight scenes. And the first one, you're thinking, oh, that's pretty cool, the way they're doing that. But see, when they do it for the third and fourth time, you're going, oh, come on. And apparently, I don't get this. This is the theatrical cut of the film. They're bringing out a director's cut, which is going to be 4 hours long, on Netflix as well. This didn't go to cinemas, so it's not as if
it was nothing in the.
Yeah,
No.
This is, it's not like this is the cut that Netflix wouldn't allow you to see. They've already scheduled it for a couple of months' time, and then the second film's coming out afterwards. It's just bizarre. So it's in 2 parts. So it's a 2.5-hour film, and basically the whole of the first film is bringing this band of people together to fight for not a moon, but a village on a planet that's producing corn. And you're like, what the actual fuck? Come on. And I've already shared with you Charlie Hunnam's Northern Ireland accent in this film, which is just incredible. So, yeah. TV-wise, watching Monarch, which is the Godzilla sort of spin-off in Apple TV, which was pretty decent, actually. Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell playing the same character in different eras.
That's pretty cool.
Which is a very, very good touch, actually. Because they've got obviously sort of certain mannerisms in common anyway, and you can see the way that they worked it in the TV show. I thought it was pretty good. Also started watching Ozark, which I'd always been recommended but never watched. I'm about halfway through season 2 of it now, because it's like one of these ones, I'll just watch another episode. I'll watch another episode, that kind of thing. So yeah, just pretty mad. The new True Detective season as well, Night Country. Been watching that on
that all
Sky.
Up to watching a winner.
The last episode is tomorrow, I think. So there's only 6 episodes in it. It's very good. Yeah, I can recommend that. That's excellent. And one that from last year that I'd forgotten about, and it was on my queue, Dead Ringers, the remake of the David Cronenberg film. And that is just absolutely phenomenal. It's a 6-episode show. Now, if you're anyway squeamish about childbirth and operations and blood and things like that, I would steer well clear of this, because you get to the down and dirty end of a lot of things. There's up close foo-foos, so yeah, if that affects you in any way.
That's the actual warning they get at the top of the screen. It's like contains violence, smoking,
Up close.
Up close. Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's really good. It's very well done. Obviously, I'd recommend that's on Prime Video as well. So, and I've only been reading one book, and it's completely trashy. It's called The Counterfeit Candidate by a guy called Brian Klein. It's the first book in the Reich trilogy. It's basically a story of Hitler didn't die at the end of the Second World War. He escaped to South America, had a son who then in turn had a son who was born in America and is now running to be the president of the United States. And at the same time, there is a bank raid carried out in a Buenos Aires bank. And in one of the safe deposit boxes is like a whole ton of incriminating evidence about who these people actually are. It's complete trash, and it's very, very readable. So yeah, I've been working my way through that. It's one of these ones you can read in a couple of days, really. So yeah, it's pretty decent. And also, obviously, Unknown Pleasures. I've been working my way through those short stories by young and upcoming author. Who's that guy again? I can't remember. No, it's Thomas. Of course, it's Thomas. Which I got through Amazon as well. So yep, it's always nice to have something like that to read as well. So yep, that was myself. That's me. Done. Oh, hey Chris.
Chris, fuck this.
Yeah.
He's there.
How long was he lurking in the background?
Honestly, the entire time we've been podding, he cannot stop playing. Is it Tekken? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He cannot stop playing that at the moment, and just to let you know who wears the trousers in this house. Earlier on, I got a wee boy face in it. Am I allowed to game while you're podcasting? Yes, you may.
Cool.
I should also say as well that I have watched Anatomy of a Fall, and for fans of like the staircase type of thing, but like more wordy and much more ambiguous. The staircase is quite ambiguous as well. For something with a quite ambiguous ending, it's a very, very good film as well. And obviously, is it Justine Huller? Is that her? She's obviously doing well with awards season with both of her films, pretty much everywhere. So,
Yep. Good shout.
did I watch one of the screeners for the film festival called Sorry Not Sorry, which is about Louis C.K. and his sort of fall from grace or whatever and come back. The amount of people who are willing to go on camera and be like, oh, I know, but it's just a wee laugh, isn't it? He didn't rape anyone. I was like, wow. And I feel like people who commit themselves to, you're saying you'd ask people what Barbie was like in a pub in Perth after like loads and loads of pints. Like these people were stone cold sober, committing to documentaries and things like that. I know we were talking about you having your own like Simi Rogan podcast, but I don't think it'd be that bad.
No. I'm still not entirely sure it was Louis C.K. I didn't really follow it. I didn't really know much about him beforehand. I didn't watch his stand-ups. It kind of passed me by.
Definitely think he's an American sort of phenomenon. I don't think it's quite translated. So seemingly his sort of MO, as it were, was he would corner women in public places and in rooms and just get it out and masturbate in front of them.
Yep, I think that was it, yeah.
Yeah. But apparently on the sliding scale of sexual assault, a lot of people are willing to say that it wasn't that bad. So it made for a very uncomfortable viewing at times, I have to say. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction that gets.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think the problem is when the Weinstein thing came out, it was like, right, there's no the benchmark. It was like, well, it's not as bad as Sims, so it's okay. I said, no.
Well, do you know, that's exactly what they said in the film, because it was sort of around about the time as the Bill Cosby stuff. And they said because I guess, so like if there was a scale, like Cosby was here and maybe he was like here, so therefore people didn't feel as outraged, which is insane.
But unfortunately, that's probably what it's been like, that probably perception type thing. If the Louis C.K. thing came out in isolation, people probably, whoa, mate, it's a bit dodgy. But instead it was like, well, it's not Bill Cosby.
Yeah,
which
they did show the
horrible
clip of Matt Damon again. It's like, fuck, that's going to haunt that guy forever.
Oh, man.
He's barely regretting that interview.
Yes. Every time an interview is played, there's just a clip after it goes, oh my god, it's Jason Bourne. But yeah, I mean, like the Louis C.K. thing's interesting. Like I said, because for me, as somebody that was not a Louis C.K. fan, I didn't
know who he was.
I had heard of him, but I couldn't really tell. I didn't see any stand up of that. I couldn't tell much about him, apart from Parks and Rec, I think it was.
Yeah.
It kind of came and went, and then he kind of he's come back, and now it's going to be forgiven. And you're right, I think it's more like over here, nobody's. I don't want to say nobody's is bothered about it because all these people have so strong feelings about it. There's no a general consensus. I mean, if it was like Bill Burr, for example, I think more people.
Maybe
not even maybe just because I know Bill Burr more than Louis C.K. Louis C.K. for all I know could be more famous, but I don't.
I think he is. The way they were talking is, and what's interesting was as well, they were showing you like a lot of his early stand-up, and a lot of it is about he's got a whole routine where the sort of joke, as it were, is what's the biggest single threat to men. And it shows you like all these different jokes from his early routines, and it's like, oh, you were kind of telling us that this is who you were all along, and it's just that everybody thought it was jokes, which was also really creepy as well.
As opposed to comparison, that's in Russell Brand, but Russell Brand's allegations are much more severe. Serious.
Have they sort of gone away, or like what's happened with that? Because I watched that Panorama and I don't know what happened.
I believe it's still an active investigation. So
it is, yeah.
Because he's come out and done a couple of like YouTube videos and stuff, sort of addressing things, hasn't he? He's obviously saying that the allegations are false, I assume.
Yeah.
It's what do they call it? The mass media are making things up and all that.
Yeah,
which is I always have a good chuckle when they come out with that, saying, "Yeah, it's this, it's the media that are portraying me, and you're thinking you're part of the media. You've been
To
part
be,
of the
to be
media
fair,
for
though, I mean,
decades.
to be fair to the media, they went back to 2013 and found allegations before he was even exposed in the media and all the corruption and lies. So that's an impressive conspiracy in itself.
Yeah, well,
To go,
plan ahead.
so when you're just a comedian that accused of stuff, we knew you were going to rebrand yourself, no pun intended, as this like guru type anti-media guy. So we've had this in the back pocket for the last 10 years, just in case.
Mhm.
It doesn't make any sense, does it? And that's like, I don't get me wrong, okay, obviously. But just and we've already been through that Scientology, but also brand as well. That's the guy who was a comedian and then reinvented himself as a kind of like guru, but then reinvented himself again as a kind of like right-wing conspiracy theorist. And if you look at his YouTube channel and his videos, guess what ones get more hits?
Oh, as he joined the Lawrence Fox brigade of rebranding and PR.
I mean, it's funny being people on YouTube saying things like, "Oh, they've silenced me." From where?
I know, because the thing was, what was it YouTube did? They demonetized his videos, so he could still make them. He just wasn't making any money off them. It just, yeah.
Yeah, so there's the truth, and then there's the truth with cash benefits. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because that's what tends to happen with these people with the cry foul, even though they're using a mass media outlet like YouTube.
Who's only owned by that small company we've heard of, Google.
Yeah.
That's really sticking to the man, isn't it? Going on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm going to show them. Honestly,
yeah, I'm going to show mass media. I'm going to go to the biggest streaming platform online and take all my content there.
And
there should be a section of YouTube just called like "White Men Cry Online."
It probably is.
That's GB News. They've already they've cornered that market.
Well, you've got that other website with Rumble, where I think that's where he's making his money now, and that is
funny.
It's basically what you'd imagine it to be. All your little brands and Lawrence Foxes and that, and.
So is it like a YouTube though? I mean, is like what is the actual like functionality?
I think it's a multimedia type site. I think it's like YouTube videos and articles and things like that. But that's as much as I know.
Did they not try to set up something like that before? Like Trump supporters in America were like, "Oh, we're going to come off Twitter and we're going to set up our own."
Many times.
Yeah,
They keep. Gab was one of them. I can't remember the other ones, but I think every time they do, they end up infighting because I think there was one they went and set up, but then they fell out over whether porn should be allowed on it or not.
Oh, for fuck's sake! God, it must be a good time to be a right-wing app developer. Must be making a fortune.
Are they though? Because everything keeps failing.
That's true, actually.
That's why Elon Musk bought one.
Still going. Oh, it makes me so sad that X or Twitter or whatever is just his little plaything for the moment.
What I don't understand about X at the moment is if somebody posts something on it, there may be like one or two replies that are actually relevant to what's actually posted, and then you get somebody with it's just completely random shit for about 30 posts, and I just don't understand. Is it just not like overseen anymore? Is that just a thing of the past now?
Well, to be fair,
not?
Yeah, pretty much. But to be fair, there is one thing that's been quite good since it took over. It's like community notes. That's actually been really good. And it's actually backfired against them a few times, which is even funnier. But that's been a really good functionality that's been brought in. Other than that, we all still use it, so how much can we really complain about it?
Yeah, I'm too old to learn how to use something else.
I'm a creature of habit,
Yeah, I'm set in my ways.
Listen to you old folk, Jings.
I know.
What do you like?
Bring back people.
Oh, remember people. Simpler days. And you had 3 loves that you could give per day. Simpler times when the internet wasn't. I was going to say when it wasn't a cesspit, it probably was. It just didn't seem such an obvious cesspit.
Yeah, it's pretty much that meme. You see the astronaut looking at the Earth. It's like, oh my god, and it's a cesspit, and the astronaut behind them with a gun saying, "It always has been."
Oh dear. I'm going to just do one last refresh of that because I've spoiled it for myself now. What's the point? I swore I wasn't going to do this. I was going to record them and watch them after we were done, but I need to know now.
I don't even know it's nominated.
It's the same things in every award ceremony because I've had a look at
Yeah.
Golden
Oh.
Globes, BAFTAs, and the Oscars, and it's all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
There's very little slight variations, but not very much at all.
Well, unless Jason Momoa has won Best Actor for Fast and Furious 10 in every single category.
Yeah.
Not every single awards. I'm sure I'd be interested.
And he'd be the runner-up for Aquaman as well. Yeah.
No, Patrick Kingley should get that.
Oh God. I honestly, sometimes when you tell me Fast and Furious stuff, I genuinely have to go away and Google it because I'm not sure if you're taking the piss out of me or not.
Do you know apparently it's Christopher Nolan's favourite film franchise?
No, see, I'm going to have to go and Google this now because that doesn't sound like a credible fact.
The way he sees it, it's just pure cinema.
Right. Does he?
I can barely find that. I'm going to Google that. I'm just going to see if I just say this part's actually true.
What, he actually paid it a compliment?
Christopher Nolan has no guilt about being a Fast and Furious fan. A tremendous
What's the
action
source?
franchise.
What's the source?
Him.
Oh, right, okay.
He's the source. His own Stephen Colbert talking about it.
Oh, I see. Right, okay. Every
No,
time I think of Christopher Nolan, I just wonder how he watches cinema because now there's allegedly that no chairs rule for him on set. So I just imagine like standing at the back of an Odeon with his arms folded, like refusing to sit down.
Do you think he's got like he's in cinema? He's got like a standing section like the football.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's that kind of thing. I was talking about this last week, and that's what I got told about that. Genre films don't get the love they should. And you get something like Fast and Furious, there's nothing to it apart from action. It's an action film. And people got a tendency to kind of turn their nose up to it. Don't get me wrong, there's 10 of them, I get that. And some of them are terrible. But
Just some.
See, the only way they're going to get recognition is through if they introduce the like of best stunt or best stunt crew or something, because obviously they're introducing best casting.
I don't think they should up for an Oscar. But
no, I think it's only a matter of time before they go with best stunt.
There's
because
a
it's such an
casting
integral
award.
part.
well, what about best action film?
Yeah, aye.
Best horror film? Best genre film?
I was going to say, you would have to have like either a category like per genre, so action and horror, or you would just have like a best genre film category, in which case it'd be a bun fight between everything there. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like I said, there's been some really good horror recently, and we've talked about it before, how there's a kind of snobism around, or snobbery around horror films and stuff like that. But I would have always thought that even like a special effects category, or even like a hair and makeup, sometimes I think Fast and Furious kind of sneak in these ones. But obviously, no, I mean, BAFTAs, Oscars, all pretty much like pure thing, Anatomy of a Fall, the Zone of Interest, Oppenheimer, all that sort of thing.
Aye, that's the thing. It's like, this kind of really stuck in my head after watching Saltburn. And I don't mind films. I don't mind films like Oppenheimer, Zone of Interest, for example, which I've not seen it before, that have something to say.
Yep.
Place for that. But there's also a place for films that have nothing to say, but they're entertaining you.
Well, because to be quite honest with you, I'm not being funny, but I've heard basically everyone in work talk about Saltburn over the past few weeks or whatever since we come back from Christmas, but over the past few weeks. I've not heard a single person talk about like Anatomy of a Fall or Poor Things. And I'm not saying that it's like, but what I mean is like there's always going to be films that people either stream or want to go and see and all that sort of thing. And I suppose there's a sort of, as you say, there's films that say a lot and are very important and worthy, and then there's films that are just pure spectacle. And
well, interesting enough, that's where I kind of had problems with Saltburn, because I thought it was quite an entertaining film. It was trying to say something. God knows what that was, though. In fact, you watch it and think to yourself, I know you're trying to say, but it's a bit muddied. So if you get a film that's clearly trying to tell a message but fails, give me something that's just entertaining instead. Like Halloween Kills came out, and people actually said, what does it say? Nothing whatsoever. It's Michael Myers chopping people up for an hour and a half.
It's like what, the like 20th film in the franchise or something like that. What are you wanting it to say? What, killing is bad? Is that what you want?
The Guardian are favourite people, and the Mario Brothers and one of 17 reviews for it. 1 star they gave it and said, I mean, they really missed a trick to kind of talk about the play on the kind of the Italian family dynamic. No, they didn't. They didn't miss a trick at all. They went into a film based on a computer game for kids, and it actually worked really well, and kids loved it. It didn't have to say anything.
How is that even a critique? Like, what the actual fuck?
Films don't always need to tell you something. Films could just sometimes be entertaining. Fast and Furious 10 doesn't need to be this deep dive, like existentialist crisis film about family. It's cars going fast and things blowing up. That's okay.
But you know what, though? See, even with like some horror films, like, and I know you hate this phrase, Sammy, so I'm going to try. Like, so see with the elevated horror,
Yeah.
see that Talk to Me. You can go and watch that as a straight horror film and just enjoy it for that. But then, if you wanted to look into it a bit deeper, you could talk about sort of, you know, meditations on trauma and grief and all this sort of thing. But there's going to be but you can just watch it as a horror film as well. Like, there doesn't, again, so maybe that's people who are reading too much into it. You can just enjoy things for just being the straight, like, scare fest or action thriller or whatever it is.
That's the thing. See, interpretation, that's one thing. Like Halloween, the first Halloween film, for example, many film messages written on that. And you could find all this subtext in it and stuff like that. And some stuff the director's put in, some stuff he's not. That's perfectly fine. But to come away from that film going, it didn't actually say what I wanted it to, I don't like it. That's sometimes I think a lot of critics do these days. And
yeah, and to be fair, I'm very guilty of, like, for example, I know that because I read that Zone of Interest, I know just from reading a wee bit about it that this film is going to be so different from the novel. Like, basically, they're just borrowing the premise and the name. They're not actually following how. And I'm the first to put my hand up and go, oh, it wasn't like the book, so I didn't really like it. And actually, that's something I'm trying to sort of talk myself out of. But I know there's a lot of people who, you're right, it didn't give them the message that they thought they were going to get, maybe based off a 90-second trailer, and therefore the film was worth 1 star, as opposed to repositioning what they thought about it completely.
Yeah, and it's funny because you talk about elevated horror as well. Like Dawn of the Dead, I would never consider Dawn of the Dead elevated horror. See, if that came out now, it probably would be, because of the themes of it.
Yeah.
It's such a deep satire of.
But again, you can also just watch it. It's like a kind of split level thing where you can also just watch it as a horror film, or you can look into it at that.
Very much so, but at the same time, there's nothing under the surface really with Dawn of the Dead in that sense. It's quite like we're telling you something here. It's quite clear. It's not like it took decades of film research for somebody to say, I believe this is the themes. It was like, it's quite obvious when you watch it. And I think a lot of kind of elevated horror, it's not very subtle. It wants to say, here's my theme. I'm telling you something that's more important than just normal horror. Nah, I'll give them. Just show me a horror film. Scare me. I do need a lecture at the same time. Plus, also, what happened to some psychological horror? When did it become elevated horror, you know?
Oh, do you know, that's a good point. I haven't heard anyone use that in ages. As a sort of genre term or whatever, sub-genre term, whatever you want to call it. I've not actually heard anyone say that in a while.
No, thank you very much.
Welcome. John the whiskey.
I know, that looks like a really posh glass. Is that port?
It's a port glass, yes, but it's sparkling wine. It's very nice.
Okay, I was actually joking when I said it's that port. I can't believe you actually have a port glass.
These are the kind of things that you inherit
I see.
from people wanting to get rid of stuff. So I think this is some of the first glasses we actually had when we moved into our first place, and it was like, oh, we've got this pile of glasses, you want them? And of course, it's just a mixture of all sorts of stuff, and you just use them until they're great.
You see the brandy glass swirling.
That's one thing I don't have. I don't have a brandy
glass. You don't have a brandy glass?
No. I don't drink brandy, so no, that would make a difference.
That's true.
It's, see, with you're talking about like all these sort of horror things, like these opinions. Basically, that's all it is. It's just opinions. You've got to remember that a lot of stuff that we're talking about this because it's an extreme opinion, and they're making them so they can get clicks, so they can get likes.
I know, and I totally worked in there, but it's that way. It's they're also getting paid for it, and that annoys me.
Yeah.
Plus, they also buy it themselves, so there's clickbait, and there's people actually just seem to they believe that it's what you call in wrestling a mark for themselves. They start to believe they're in hype in a sense, and
But isn't that the same with like the sort of Oscar? And again, this is no detriment to obviously the craft and time and hours that have gone into making these films. But isn't that kind of the same with like the Oscars and stuff? It's just backslapping yourself. It's like, look, we made these worthy in inverted commas films, and therefore they are creating the hierarchy of these are the films that are, you know, worth the statue and these are the films that aren't. But most of it's just backslapping themselves.
Yeah, of course.